Ex-wife now wants her family back after 2 years. The grass was not greener on the other side. My ex-wife has called and left some of the most ridiculous voicemails, voice notes, text messages, everything. She claims her new boyfriend lied about his wealth and they are facing eviction. This idiot somehow finessed his way into a big single-family rental that cost over $6,000 per month. What a freaking idiot. He apparently had a job as a coder or something, but failed to tell my ex-wife that it was a 6-month contract that could possibly be cut shorter, and it was. My ex-wife and I have 3 children. They are all mine. I did test them all. She abandoned us after 10 years of marriage between her and I, stating that she was sick of living in poor conditions. I guess 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom is poor. In a nice neighborhood with a good school. 2 paid-off cars. 1 Toyota, the other a Ford SUV. She wanted more out of life. Mansions, luxury cars, fine dining. She didn't start acting like this until after the pandemic, or during it actually. She went into this deep depression thinking the world was ending. One night, she had a panic attack and woke me up saying we needed to get to Walmart before everyone else because there's going to be a food shortage. I tried getting her therapy, but that just turned her against me, saying that I wanted to lock her up in the loony ward. She told our kids, 8, 6, and 4, that if anything happened to mommy, that daddy did it. That crap used to break my heart. During the pandemic, I caught her on a dating app, Tinder, talking to multiple men. She never met up with any of them yet at that time I caught her, but eventually she did. I confronted her and she cried, saying that she just needed someone to talk to and she's only started talking to people she thought she noticed from high school. I guess in her mind that made things better. The conversations were light and I did see that once some guy started talking a bit spicy, she'd shut it down or redirect the conversation, even saying she's not there for that. I know it was stupid of me, but I let it go. I saw past it because, well, she wasn't talking feisty with anyone and no numbers were exchanged or pictures, so I let it go. But that was a mistake because eventually she did meet up with some guy. Our area stayed shut down for quite some time, maybe a lot longer than other states and cities in our state. But somehow she needed to get out to get a breath of fresh air, not just walk around the neighborhood or even walk around in our backyard. No. She needed to drive off and be gone for hours on end. These stunts is what made me want to go through her laptop and phone even more. So that's what I did. And sure enough, she was back on Tinder, this time only talking with one other guy, and they ended up exchanging phone numbers. I never told her when I found Tinder on her laptop. Instead, I went into her phone while she was asleep. Sure enough, not only did she meet up with this guy, but they had slept together multiple times. Pretty much every time she said she needed to go get a breath of fresh air, it was with this guy. I read all the text messages. He bragged about how he had this high-paying job. He said he actually didn't have any desire to have children. And he usually doesn't even date women with children. So she should consider herself lucky. This guy talks so much trash, it's ridiculous. And I couldn't believe my ex-wife was falling for it. It's like she enjoyed it. He came off like a complete douche. I ended up confronting my ex-wife and she told me that he was better than me. She basically started bragging all about this guy, how he makes over $200,000. He drives really nice cars and he lives in this mini mansion. There was a neighborhood about 20 minutes from where we lived and all of the houses were huge there. That's where the guy lived. This guy found a rental there and convinced whoever owned the home to rent to him because he had this big paying gig. I found out those people who rented out that house were just desperate and they needed someone to help pay their mortgage because they probably were in over their heads. A lot of people lost their jobs during the pandemic during that time, so I wouldn't be surprised about that. I saw pictures of this place. He'd send my ex-wife pictures and then eventually she ended up being there and I guess she thought that was her dream home. But the fact that he did not want kids and he really didn't take women with kids, she thought it was a great idea to abandon all of us. That's exactly what she did, man. So to work up to that part, I ended up confronting her about hanging out with this guy. I had all the information and I told her we're getting a divorce. She didn't care. She said, "You can do what you want. I'm going to live my life the way I want to live it, the way it's meant to be lived." I told her, "What about your kids?" She said, "I'll always love my kids. Don't you dare try to say I don't love my kids. But they're happy here and they go to school here. So I'll leave them with you. They'll be fine. I'll see them." I said, "Are you going to continue working?" And she told me part-time. I told her, "You're going to be responsible for child support still." And she said she didn't care. She wanted to move in with this new lover boy. We went through the divorce. I filed and I got full custody of the children. She really gave up full custody. She didn't care. Do you want to know what's funny? The judge actually mentioned that it would be okay if she did not pay child support, and he tried to push for 50-50 custody. Can you believe that? Now, if it was the other way around, you think the judge would push for 50-50 custody and suggest that I don't pay anything as a man to my children? It's ridiculous how this system is, man. It's disgusting. My lawyer argued and definitely said I deserved them and needed full custody. She had abandoned her family, and I had proof. I had all the evidence of her telling me in text messages and voicemails how she didn't care. She's going to move in with this guy that she met on Tinder, and he doesn't want kids at his house. I did end up with full custody, and she did have to pay child support, a whopping $450 a month, $150 per child. She was glad to pay it, and she still does pay it till this day. Only now she wants to come home because she's about to be homeless. She moved out towards the end of 2021, and we divorced in 2022. According to her, only 3 months after she moved out, they started struggling. This guy owed the owners of that home a whopping $18,000. He was living there already. Before she moved in with him, he was paying the rent just fine. But when she moved in with him, that's when he lost his coding job. She told me that he didn't tell her that it was a contract position, and he ended up losing the job before the contract was even set to end. I guess the company went under. He kept telling the owners of the home that he was going to find another job, and he's very good at what he does, and the industry pays very well. He never found the job, and he owed those owners a ton of money. They eventually kicked him out. This whole time, I'm thinking my ex-wife is living the high life in his nice, beautiful home. The home is gorgeous, big home, just the two of them, and it had a swimming pool. They moved out just a few months after she moved in. I believe they moved out actually before we were even divorced, apparently living with his brother. His brother owned a duplex, and they stayed on one side of it, and she went back to work, full time, helping him pay the rent. That man never found another coding job. Actually, she told me that he actually only had a high school degree, and he had took some coding boot camp during the pandemic and learned some tricks and ways to get into a job. And he got into a job, but he didn't last very long. They smelled that he wasn't as good as he claimed to be. And he had lied on his resume and things like that. He had finally confessed everything to my ex-wife, and she got fed up. They even tried to doctor up his resume, and she even tried to get him a job somewhere, but it never worked. Maybe he ruined his own name in the industry. I don't know. I don't know how all that stuff works, but he wasn't making that money anymore. They kicked him to the curb, the job and the landlord of that big house. So my ex-wife has told me all of this just recently, not too long ago. I wanted to laugh so hard on the phone, but I really kept my composure. I did laugh after. Now, this whole time, my ex-wife has the kids on the weekends, so she didn't completely abandon them, but she did abandon the family technically, if you think about it. But she would see them every weekend, and she paid the child support like she was ordered to. She just thought the grass was greener on the other side. Now she's looking back at us saying, wow, home wasn't so bad. We have great times, family night with the kids. The kids tell her all about it. I ended up buying a pool and putting it in the backyard because, of course, the kids wanted a pool after knowing that mommy lived in the house with the pool. They did get to go to that house one time, and they did swim in that pool, but that was the only time because they got evicted after that. Of course, she never really told the kids what happened. She pretended like, oh, mommy's busy at home. Mommy's getting work done at the house, can't come over. But she always came over to our house playing in the living room. She looked very comfortable. I bet she did because sharing a house with her boy toy's brother had to be annoying. I actually think they had a roommate on their side of the house too, and they all shared a washer and dryer in the basement. But she made her bed. She had to lie in it. So she eventually started telling me how much she misses me and how big of a mistake it was to leave me and the kids all alone here in this home. And she'd love to come back. One weekend, she insisted that she cook for us. She kept trying. I want to make you guys' favorite, remember, spaghetti and meatballs? Breadstick with Parmesan cheese, side salad? Come on. I know you guys want it. I kept shutting it down, and I ordered pizza. I was not trying to eat her food. Recently, she left me all types of voicemails, text messages, voice notes, crying, begging to come back. I want my family back. She even threatened to take the kids away from me, saying they're her kids, and she has every right to take them away from me. The judge will side with her. Ridiculous. The sad thing is, though, True, she's probably right. She probably could get the kids back. And just tell the judge, hey, I want my kids and I want him to pay child support. Boom. It'll happen just like that. It's sad how it is out here for men. I told her to do what she had to do, but I'll fight to keep the kids because they're happy here and they're better off with me. Apparently, she's still dealing with this boy toy, but she's trying to map out an escape plan. She just needs somewhere to go first. She thinks I'm stupid. She'll come back here, act as if she misses us and wants to stay here with us and be a family again until she finds someone else and jumps on that ship just like she did before. Let's say I take her back. She moves in, we're family. That guy calls her one day and says, hey, I landed another job as a coder and this isn't a contract. They hired me, same pay, come back. You think she won't go back to him? She'd run back to him so fast. Yes, you're going to give me the life I deserve. At this point, I don't care what happens to her. She can end up in a homeless shelter for all I care. I'm focusing on my kids and taking care of my children. My job is very, very good with allowing me to take care of my kids because during the week, she's nowhere to be found. She doesn't want anything to do with taking care of the kids, picking them up, going to parent-teachers conferences, nothing. I do all of that. She just grabs them on the weekend because she doesn't have to work and she doesn't take them with her unless it's to a park. But usually she'll come to the house and play games with them and hang out with them all day long. True story, I want you to know that I will not be taking my ex-wife back. It's kind of funny seeing her suffer the way she's suffering because she really thought the grass was greener. She really thought our life was bad. We do not live poor at all. You know, I don't know what middle class is anymore. Some say it's no middle class at all. I don't know, but we do well for ourselves. We don't have a ton of debt. We're not struggling. We have groceries. We have food. Our kids have clothes. We have working cars. There's nothing wrong with our lives. But for some reason, she just wants to live this high life, this expensive life, and it's stupid. People are going into debt, trying to impress other people. It's quite sad. True story. Thanks for taking my story, if you do take it. Take care.